Welcome to the Manager Matt podcast show. The show is designed to give you solutions to your day-to-day management and leadership problems. It's hosted by Matthew Haddock, a frontline manager and leader with over 25 years of experience. If you're ready, then let's get on with the show.
Welcome to the Manager Matt podcast show. This week, I want to look at how to set clear expectations for your team. What's the best approach to make them stick? And how will you see the benefits in the future? So let's get on with the show. So it's no surprise to most of us that a lot of our teams out there are not given clear instructions and sometimes lack the clarity on what they are actually there for. Now, this is not usually a tactic of a business. There's not an email that's sent around to say, look, guys, don't tell anyone what we're here to do. I want you to make sure you don't tell anyone what the goals are. It's a secret. Keep it quiet. That won't make any sense. So why does it happen? Why, in all this modern industry and all this business that we've all worked in with all this technology, do some teams not really know why they're there? What's gone wrong? Well, I think there's a couple of things that's happening here that leaders are maybe missing. Firstly, there's an assumption that people already know. But that doesn't sound too bad, does it? People are obviously working at a place. They know what the title is. They know what the products are. So obviously, they know what the goals of the organisation are. Now, if that were the case, obviously we wouldn't need to have all these massive campaigns of missions and visions that most modern businesses do have. So that, firstly, the assumption that people don't know is probably the worst thing that we can do. And of course, assumption is the mother of all failures, they always say. Now, secondly, maybe there is small groups understand what their purposes are. So in a small team, you understand what you're there to do. You're a customer service rep. You're an engineer. You're an operator. You understand those small bits. But when it plays into the larger, bigger picture, I suppose that's where we may be missing out on the fact that the people don't really know what the goals are. And then lastly, I think sometimes the managers don't really see it as their role. They become the doers. They get on with it, they get the things done, they make the teams work, but they really don't take the time to understand what the goals are and get the team around them bought into those goals. And you can understand there that this really does cause problems going forward. Now, in a past podcast, I talked around strategy into action. So I'm not going to go through all that again, but that was looking at how a big picture of an organisation should go down to everyone, so everyone has the same mindset. But today we're going to actually look at those clear expectations that we need to be setting for our teams going forward. So where do we start? Well, let's start at the beginning naturally. How do we go around setting up those goals that the people around us can do? Now, goal setting can be a very, very formal process, as we've talked around a few other casts, around the fact that some businesses have very advanced systems where they'll be all electronic. They go into a computer system which then gives you out your reports that tells you this hadn't been done, these goals haven't been set. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's the best way or the worst way. Realistically, you need to set your goals for your team. So even you've got a small team of people, you need to be looking at making sure that they understand what they are. You're going to build on the idea of the strategy, which of course is around the vision of the business. So if you've got most businesses, they'll have a vision of where they want to go. They'll have an idea of what they want to do. And I guess the first thing, if you are a small business, is to make sure you do have that written down. What is your vision? What is your strategy? Where will you be in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? So you can then start to build around that with your teams. But what we really want to do is, when you've got a team, is where are they going? Do they understand what they're there to do? Do they really get the idea of the big picture? And then understand of how are they going to try to achieve that? So how do we take that step from the goal to the next point? So first thing is, though, set your goals. And if it's a small department, you'll be giving yourself your goals built off the strategy. If you're in a big organisation, that's usually through some sort of cascade. If you're a small organisation or even a small team, there's nothing wrong with setting the goals that you want to see for your site, for your department. So as a manager, you can set those goals, set them up, get them working for your team so they understand the goals that they're there to do. And then the next thing is the path itself. How will we achieve that? So we've got as goals, but how are we going to measure that achievement? What is the path? So as a manager, we're providing a map. We're giving their people enough guidance to feel comfortable in achieving their goals. So as a manager, you are then setting out that pathway that you expect those teams to go through to get from where they are now to the over end of the goal. Now, we've got to be careful here that the path, in my mind, is not too prescriptive. Because if you're laying down exactly, this is what you do on day 1, this is what you do on day 2, like a standard operating procedure that you may see, that's not really giving us enough freedom for those people in the organisation to set themselves a path. What we're doing when we're setting this path is we're building on the goals, and then we're looking at what those goals would look like with a path to get there. We all know that we use the phones to find somewhere we go. We get as Google Maps or as Apple Map, and we put in a place. Now, it's a destination, so the goal is to get to the destination. And obviously the sat-navs will then give you a path to get there. But it's still up to you how to pick that path. There's usually 2 or 3 options. And the same with this. There'll be a number of options to get there. There may be options in the path which is around quick wins, changing it around fast. And you usually find those are needed when an organisation is struggling. And you need those changes in pretty fast. So you'd be very much more direct when you've got a pathway you have to get to those goals when the business is really struggling. On the second or third routes that you may choose, there may be a different approach. It might have a different way of looking at how we get there, building those goals going forward. And remember, your goals can be short, middle and long term. So we talk about yearly goals, but these ones could also be longer when you're talking about clear expectations for your team. You could be setting them the 6 monthly goal, it could be even 6 weekly goals of what they need to get to. And then after that, you may be adding more goals as you go through the year. But after that, you're obviously looking at the year after and the year after. You want a stable team that's going to be there for a long while. So you want to make sure those team knows what they're there to do. And when new people join, don't forget to get those guys into this process, because, again, back to my point in the beginning, people assume everyone's done it. And that assumption means that when new people join, you are assuming that they already know. And you don't know what you don't know. So obviously you need to lay that down with them with the path. And the third point of this is then the role. What is expected of them and what's expected of you? So you need to be clarifying the roles and responsibilities. And that's, again, around to ensure that the people are focusing on the right things. So you need to make sure that when you've set these goals and you've agreed them with your team, you've put the pathway in, then the roles of each part to play. If you look at a sporting analogy of any sport, there'll be positions that people are specialised in playing. Everyone knows the rules of the whole game. They all know what the end goal is to score more points or get less shots or whatever whatever game you're playing. But the role of each player on that field is going to be different. They'll have different strengths. And that's, as a leader, you're going to be expecting these people and setting their expectations to make sure that they can get there. And then the fourth part of this is the resource. So what do they need to get that job done? And this is where you really come into your point and your part to play in this, because you are the manager. So you are going to be clearing that path. And the path clearing is all around making sure that you're giving the guys the support to get to where they need to be. So you're making sure that the resources are there. So is it appropriate resources, as in money? That's an easy one to go to. You need more money. You're going to need some investment. Or is it going to be about time? How much time is spent? Or is it around those things that you need to do, which you may be changing your structure to make sure it's supporting and getting the resources in the right place? And that might be short-term changes to help support an area, or it could be longer term when you're talking about what is needed going forward. A number of organisations you go into and you'll see the structures have become either very, very long with lots of layers in. For a reason at a time was probably the right reason, but things have changed and those layers are not really needed. And on the reverse, you can get some organisations that don't have enough resource in certain parts, therefore make it very difficult to get things done. So it's that balance as a leader that you're looking at the appropriate resources and removing the barriers going forward. And at this point then, you've already done those big things for them. You've set themselves where they want to get to as a goals. You've looked at the path, how are you going to achieve it? You sat down with your team and done that. You've got the roles and the right responsibilities in play for it. And then you've looked at the resources that people need to get that over the line. Now, if you do that, and you've done the identification, you've done the barrier removal, then that's where you really set your team up to succeed through the year. And at this point, when you've done that, you can almost sort of go into a maintaining mode. So you've maintaining it with the team, making sure the check-ins are there. It could be a daily check-in on certain KPIs. It could be longer term stuff like a monthly check-in, depending on what the business wants. Some businesses I've worked into would run a daily P&L, which sounds really heavy, but a profit and loss on a daily basis. So you know exactly what each area was making from a loss or from a win point of view. Or it could be monthly. Some Businesses didn't even look at it monthly. Most of the time it's weekly when you're looking at the bigger picture numbers, and daily when it's looking at how much is getting out the door or what your levels of service you're doing to your customer are. And at the end of this, it's all about delivering results. We're here as managers to get those results delivered. And if you don't deliver results, and I've said this a few times, you don't end up in a role. Because if you don't deliver the results, you know that someone else will deliver those results. So it's very important that when we're looking at setting clear expectations as a people manager, because remember, you're a people manager, that you make sure that you're setting these things up to make sure that they really do hit the ground running and make sure they get over the line as per the way that the business needs to. So that really gives you the idea of setting clear expectations, goals, clearing the path for them, setting those objectives, and then getting the resources in place to make sure it happens, and clearing the path. Well, thanks for listening. Now it's over to you. You have the background of why it works. You have the context, allow it to deliver results to you. You have a step-by-step guide. Now it's up to you to take action and start seeing the benefits. So what are you waiting for? Do it. Nothing comes of nothing. Okay, that's it for Manager Matt this week. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.
Thank you so much for listening to this Manager Matt podcast. We hope you found it interesting, helpful and actionable. One last thing, please leave a quick review on iTunes or with your podcast provider, as it helps to spread the word of Manager Matt. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the podcast, and if you did like anything in particular, send an email to managermattpodcast@gmail.com or visit managermatt.co.uk for more content. Feedback is a gift, so let's keep giving. See you next week.